Tornadoes are crazy. Every missionary has an assigned tornado shelter that they have to go to with an emergency contact, so they can be like, hey, gotta get yourself in the shelter right now. So yeah, you'll go in the tornado shelter, and sometimes if there's a really bad tornado, missionaries will get the opportunity to serve for cleanup, tornado cleanup. And I never got to do that, but I know a lot of missionaries that did, and I can imagine that'd be a really powerful experience. Other than that, there's tons of wind all the time, especially in the spring and the summertime. And in the summer, it gets really, really hot and humid. And so I remember a couple of times walking out of our apartment and just being blasted with a gush of wind. But usually when the wind comes, it's kind of like a cool breeze. But when it's really hot, it just feels like a blow dryer. There's also a lot of ice storms in the wintertime. It gets really, really icy instead of snowy. Not really. There's a lot of deep fried stuff there. But for the most part, it's still America, so unless you serve Spanish speaking, you can get some kind of sketchy stuff sometimes, but usually it's just really good Mexican food, so yeah, you're fine. I really I gained more of an appreciation for smoked meat and just barbecue while I was out there. They have really amazing barbecue sauce and really good smoked meat, so yeah. In my last area in Stillwater, we were at an apartment complex that we were going to visit one of our investigators. It wasn't my first days in the area, and so I was just getting to know him and things like that. And we pulled out a Book of Mormon there in the breezeway and started reading with him. And it just kind of happened that like all of these guys just kind of popped out of nowhere. And as soon as we knew it, we were reading the Book of Mormon to like 8 single black men just in the breezeway. It was just kind of a funny picture. And then one guy, because we were just reading, and one guy like walks by, and he kind of walks backwards towards us again. And he said, hey, what's up? I just got out of jail and I was about to go get high, but I saw you guys. I said, come over here instead. I said, yeah, hey, we're coming and reading about Jesus. Want to join? And I just gave him a Book of Mormon. It was just kind of comical, really spiritual at the same time experience. And I don't know, I love that one. I remember one time this guy, we were leaving somewhere, and this guy just walks up to us. He's like, hey, y'all Mormons? And yeah, we're Mormons, and from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And he introduced himself as something super, I don't even remember, like he called himself like Asa Karan or something like that. I don't even know. He was just saying that he had looked into the church. He's like, oh, I have the keys, and just really weird stuff like that happened a lot. I don't know, so that was kind of fun. You had to be there. It was really great. Another time I remember trying to do member missionary work. We took one of the members' dogs out walking to like see if we could talk to their neighbors. We just ended up like walking the dog around the neighborhood. No one was outside, but it was a really good attempt. Oftentimes on your mission, because you hear about missionaries coming back with these amazing spiritual experiences, right? And you're thinking, well, what's that going to be for me? And they happen when you least expect them to, honestly, truthfully. And so that's something that I have really gained from my mission, is paying attention to the simple things. Because oftentimes we would just be driving back home from teaching people, and I would be watching the sunset. It is gorgeous there. There's no mountains to block the sunset there, and so it's just as far as the eye can see, just gorgeous colors and clouds. It's just pondering about the day. I often had really spiritual experiences, actually, just driving home or driving to someone's house to go teach. One time I remember we were driving down the road. Take advantage of the time in the car, I guess, because a lot of driving experiences, but just pondering about the relationship that I have with the Savior, and really what that means to me, and what I was really doing for Him, and what that meant to be set apart as a full-time servant of Him. So oftentimes spiritual experiences come when you least expect them to. So journal about them, because that's how you'll remember them. I remember one time we were translating sacrament meeting in Spanish, and the word for sin and fish is really similar in Spanish, like pecado, yeah. Anyways, and so the elder that was translating said sin instead of fish, or fish instead of sin. I don't remember. Either they were talking about Jesus and the fishes. He totally did that thing, and it was really funny. I remember one time we were talking to this man in Spanish, and I was talking about how cute his kids were because they were playing with us and they were adorable. But said, me gusta sus niños. Like, your children please me. Super creepy. Just, yeah, never say anything like that. So that kind of came to my mind. Well, there's two that come to mind. One of them is to have goals and to know that there is a means to an end of everything that you do. At the same time, be ready to be spontaneous too. But I suppose before my mission, I was just kind of like living, and I just kind of lived, if that makes any sense. I was just doing things because I was expected to, and going to school because that's what you do. But realizing that everything that you do has relevance, and it does come to an end, and it will affect your whole entire future. And you hear that your whole life, I guess, but until it actually sinks into you, it doesn't really mean anything. But being a missionary really helped me with that, is seeing the end result and having your goals align with that, but then realizing that it's actually going to happen. And another one is just realizing that most of the time miscommunication, misunderstandings come because of a lack of understanding. That's all it is. We don't get along as humans because we don't understand each other. And so if we can seek to understand each other better by taking sincere and real interest in people's lives, what makes them tick, where they come from, we can then seek to be understood a little bit better after we understand them. Well, I feel like I became a lot better of a driver, even though I'm still not good. Just in general, I understand a little bit more about how the real world works. It helped me grow up a little bit and see what it's really all about. I wish that I could say I'm a better cook, but I'm definitely not. But maybe people skills. I feel like I can strike up a conversation with an adult. Before I felt comfortable with like people my age or younger, but now I feel like I can be comfortable around adults, which is really necessary. So for sisters, try to get skirts that are flowy but aren't so flowy that they'll just completely fly up in the wind. But get yourself some biker shorts for bikes too, or for underneath your skirts when it is a windy day. I would just wear exercise pants underneath my skirt. For the winter, you'll want to make sure you have some good boots. Boots are approved in our mission, that's fine. And really good gloves too. So, but yeah, my biggest advice would be with the skirt thing. Oh, and with elders, they do this really great thing where they take old pieces of their shirts to like make this thing to have their ties. You'll see when you get there. They call them tie buddies, but to keep their ties down on their shirts instead of flying in their faces all the time. It's pretty great. I thought it was interesting, even when you're serving a mission, even when you're towards the end of your mission, that you can have really huge trials of your testimony, of your faith. I went through towards it was the last 6 months of my mission, and kind of all of the things that I had been hearing on my mission, all of the anti things, the kind of the negative things, finally started to get to me, and it was bad. Like, I was starting to really kind of have a lot of faith shaken, and I didn't want it to be that way, and I prayed and I fasted and all these things. And my advice to anyone who would ever go through that is just to recognize that you are going through it and to tell someone about it, because as soon as I actually was open about it, I was able to start healing. And that's something that the Savior can obviously help you with so much. Tell him what you're going through, and tell him that you don't want to go through it, or maybe you do, just let yourself go through it for a little bit and get out of it, because I promise you your testimony can get back to where it was, and it can be even stronger. And even missionaries can have those trials of faith. The very beginning of my mission, probably similar to everyone, but the priesthood and the restoration were really huge for me. For some reason, I never connected the whole restoration to the church thing. I mean, I did, but I didn't understand how much it meant that Joseph kneeled in the grove of trees that day, because that was the start of everything. And with that the priesthood keys are here on the earth again today. That same power to make the covenants with God that are necessary to return to live with him, to have lives full of peace and security and love, are here. And that's an incredible blessing that we have. So I think those were kind of overarching ones. President Walkenhorst is the president right now, and he has this vision for 100 baptisms in a month. Usually in the mission, for average is about 40 baptisms per month for the mission. Sometimes we get really higher than that, sometimes we get lower than that. But for average, that's about what it is. And he has this vision of doing, and he calls it the Vision 100, to get 100 baptisms in a month. And so we would talk about that a lot. Towards the very end of my mission, we talked about baptism so much. And I love that. I love the emphasis of baptism. And I would suggest that to any missionary, to always be focusing on that with every single lesson. Talk about it, because that's essentially what you're there for to do as a full-time missionary. If you go to BYU, take this sounds a little bit strange, but or not even at BYU. If you can take any kind of class that covers the second part of the New Testament, take it, because that is what a lot of Christians know inside and out. And when they want to talk to you about gospel-related topics, or with the experiences that they've had and they've grown up with, here again with that understanding thing, they will be quoting things from the second part of the New Testament. So just knowing who's in the New Testament, what's it all about, the overarching and what we believe on a lot of those passages is really, really important, no matter where you go, I think. All of the things that you hear about RMs coming home are really cliche for really real reasons. And you hear something that I heard a lot was stay busy, stay busy, stay busy when you get home. And so I tried to do that, but I kind of gained a little bit of an insight, because I did try to stay busy. And I was sad when I got home. I was kind of going off that mission blue thing. The mission blues are real. You really don't know what to do with yourself. And you feel really weird. You don't really know why, even though you're excited that you're home. And then when I got to school, I was a lot busier, and so I was able to not think about it, and that was fine. So my suggestion with that is, yes, it's important to stay busy, but it's also important to not be so busy that you can't realize that your feelings are really real. It's okay that you're depressed from your mission, and it's okay that you don't really have a direction of your life, you don't know what you're going to major in, and you don't know when you can expect to do all of these great things in your life, because you need to think about those things. You need to allow yourself to wonder about that. If you just don't think about it, I think it can lead to a lot more sadness and depression along the way. So stay busy, but also allow yourself time to think.